in Trinidad, when we speak about codes, we are really, the code really, okay, we do not have like specific codes to say, well, there's written laws and codes in which the citizens have to abide by. I like to call it more like requirements. It's more like requirements. So Town Country has a list of requirements in which you need to abide by, right? A list of requirements that your joints need to fulfill. So the question is, what is the requirements of Town Country? That is really the question, and not so much codes.
Yeah.
So the
And
requirements.
where can one find that information?
Right. You could go online. The same Town Country Planning Division Act 29, that was established in 1960. You could literally get it online. You could literally get it just punching Town Country. That, as I said, it is a list of requirements and not necessarily a code as such, because a code is different from requirements. A code is something that is structured, right? There's no
left, there's no right.
Right. It says now requirements is slightly different. When Town Country say that, listen, there's a list of requirements, right? Take for instance, like let me say the requirement is 15 feet. Let us just say, and before we end this session, I will kind of give some of the most important requirements by Town Country, right? But okay, let us say that one of the requirements is 15 feet from the face of your structure to the road. Let us just say, and that is one of the requirements. The planner in Town Country, the person who is in charge of that specific area where that single dwelling unit is to be constructed, he has the privilege to decide, okay, we could allow, instead of 15 feet, because of XYZ, because of the site condition, because of whatever, he has the flexibility to say on this specific application that we will allow 14 feet.
Right.
And if there's a setback requirement from the side of the house to your neighbor fence, and that requirement is 8 feet, he have, okay, especially in cases where it is an undersized lot, right? He have the authority to say, okay, 8 feet is the standard, 8 feet is the requirement, but you know what? I will allow 7 feet. So he has that flexibility.
That flexibility based on
so it's not really a code as such, because a code is very defined. A code is,
but these are requirements, and you could
Yes.
Now it's funny that you mentioned that, because we have a case, and one of the things for the listening audience to understand is that sometimes you go to Town and Country and fail deliberately, so that you could go before the appeal board and make a case for your particular case. So we have clients where we had to go to the Town and Country. We know that they were going to fail, but we had to fail them because at the level of requirement, they would fail. But in an appeal to the appeal board, you can say, yes, but we've been living on this land as my brother. We had a tenant in common. These lots are before 1960. And because it is before 1960, and because it's my brother, and please allow us to have this size lot for this size dwelling for this size. So sometimes the process does lead you to what might be deemed an initial failure, but then you go to the appeal board. All right.
Okay. Well, let me just add that the appeal board exercise a level of leniency to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And that is their function. And this is why I am making the point that it is not so much by codes, right? It is really requirements. And requirements, when you have requirements, you could adjust, you can make adjustments because of certain circumstances. You can alter, you can, and not necessarily go by a code of conduct, a code that is very distinct, right? Now, there were. Now I could relate to what you're saying there, because there are situations whereby, because of the nature of the development, that without a doubt that town country just do not have the authority to approve this building on this particular parcel of land for whatever reason, right? Town country just don't have the authority, and it is as simple as that. Now, there are many cases where they use their discretions. I agree. There are times that they use their discretions, but sometimes the discretion is so unbearable. Some people want some strange things that town country has no choice. They do not have the authority to grant that permission. The planner just don't have that authority. So they say, look, you know what? We have to refuse it. And any application that is refused by town country, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, they have the option of taking the matter further and taking the matter directly to the minister, where the minister has her board, her appeal panel. That is what. And
those are the levels, right?
And let me just add that every matter that I've talked to the appeal panel in my tenure was granted after it was refused.
Congratulations on that. Yeah. All right, so let's get into some of the questions here. Yes. I'm an engineer designer. I've prepared many drawings to town and country. I had approval granted because the guidelines are clear and concise and documented in a handbook. However, when it comes to the second stage, i.e. regional corporations, they perform reviews and approvals without clear guidelines. There is no handbook. So there is a lot of back and forth and wasting time, blah, blah, blah. Can I force regional corporation to provide document guidelines through a legal process? I guess that's a question for Ms. Danielle.
Right.
And I don't.
The simple answer is that you can't force them to do that. It require the legislation is the legislation. The acts have been quoted by Mr. 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗶𝗶. I do understand. I see all the comments this evening alluding to the fact that this is a very frustrating topic for everyone who is involved. My 14 years plus now in conveyancing, I understand what you guys are saying. Town and country represent the very realistic part of property law and conveyancing, and unfortunately, in our country, we have dealt in a very segmented or fragmented way, and we've not been doing sufficient or pragmatic consultations with the shareholders involved